Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of CLX Foundry Live, where we dive deep inside of customer builds and assemble them from the ground up. I'm your host, DJ Blue PDX, and of course, joining me live from our studios in Wichita, Kansas, where they have a better voice than I do and less scratchy. It's our lead technical expert, Paul Steffens, and today's master builder, Zach Killingsworth. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
I know, it's hard to believe that I am not a smoker, but right now it sounds like I sure am. But I'll tell you what's even better than that. It's the smoking hot giveaway we got going on right now. If you want to find out more, all you got to do is type exclamation GiveHorus, and that's spelled H-O-R-U-S, not the other way. Now, if you click the link, shut up, Paul. If you click the link, you'll get to the giveaway. And we've got so many different opportunities for you to gain extra entries. One of those is the codes, and everybody knows how much we love to give out codes on these channels. Today, our codes will be delivered in the purple chat over here on Twitch, which is going to be fantastic. You can find codes sometimes on our social media. Now, that is YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, or Threads at CLX Gaming. You sometimes can find them inside of our Discord at discord.gg/CLX Gaming. And you can find them in my stream chats. So, with all that being said, welcome. We got Ghost V over here on the red side, everybody on the green side, and we've got our purple kids. But the first thing I want to talk about is the first state that I lived in after, that I moved back to, that I was ever in the military, and that's Virginia. Because Seth in Roanoke, Virginia, is building a massive PC. And this is a no-joke PC build. This is kind of awesome. So, Paul, walk us through what we're going to be doing.
All right, so Seth has configured one of our sets off our website. So starting out, going inside of this, we've got an AMD Ryzen 9 7900X 3D for our processor. To cool that, we've got the Corsair H150 IQ Elite. It's the LCD. We used this on Tuesday for an Intel build, so good to see another one here. We really like this cooler. For our motherboard, we've got the Asus X670E Pro Wi-Fi. And for our memory, we've got 2 sticks of Corsair Vengeance, 32 gigabyte DDR5 6000 RGB. It is in white. You can see it down there by the video card. For our storage, we've got a Western Digital 4 terabyte SN850X. So this is a really fast NVMe drive. We've used a couple of them on the show before, but we don't see it too often. And we also have a Creative Lab sound card on this. This is the Sound Blaster Audigy 7.1. And for our video card, we've got the Asus RTX 4080. This is the Strix White, so we get treated with another white one today.
Nice.
For our power supply, we've got an EVGA 1300 GT. This is an 80 plus gold power supply, 1300 watts, giant power supply, and we've got a custom cable mod white kit. So we got white sleeved cables that are going inside this. And then obviously our case, we've got the Fantex G500A in white.
Nicole's over here like, did you just say Roanoke? Yes. As in, I don't know, because of anybody who's a fan of, didn't a bunch of people poof from there? Yes, Nicole. We were just talking about this in the pre-show when we were on earlier. We were talking about and it's funny because I did a paper in high school on the mythology behind the initial, colonization of the East Coast, and that was one of the things that I talked about. So, which was terrifying when the American Horror Story covered Roanoke on a season, and I'm like, that's not completely inaccurate. So they like to weave truth in with some things, and it comes out to a point where, like, oh my lord. So the other side is that we don't have to physically go there to deliver it. Side is that we hopefully it doesn't poof as well.
No guarantees.
We guarantee nothing. All right, don't forget, people, if you've got questions about anything you see on the show today, here on the show today, or if you've got questions about your own builds, let them go. Croatoan, yes. Let us know. Now, first things I want to talk about is this motherboard. This is actually a pretty sick motherboard. This is an Asus Prime. It's an X70E Pro Wi-Fi. Now, what's really cool about this is not only the connectivity, but the amount of heat distribution they have for all those platings. So let's start by taking a look at that side here. One thing to note about this, excuse me, is you've always got your HDMI and your display port at the very top. And then everything down there, all of those USBs, those are all USB 3.2s. We have a group of 3.2 Gen 1s, 3.2 Gen 2s, and you've got a 3.2 Gen 2 2x2C, which is that lower C one. I'm touching my screen like you guys can see where I'm pointing. There we go. That one is 10 gigs up, 10 gigs down. It's going to be awesome. So you've also got your Wi-Fi 6E, Bluetooth 5.4, and a whole bunch of other things, including audio and your buttons. So now I have a question about the buttons because it is an Asus board.
Yeah.
So does it have the button?
Oh, yeah.
It does? Thank heavens. There you go. Because we got a chunky card today. Get a cup of hot tea. Whizzicles, I hear you on that one, and you are absolutely correct. I need to get through my coffee first. Corey W., what's going on? We've got Nadir and Regis. Northern Regis. Hello, welcome. Glad to have you all here. All right. Shanabu. Hello, hello, hello. Now, first things first, let's talk about what we're going to be shoving in this thing. Unless you would rather start with the, oh, that's right, we're doing Ryzen today, aren't we? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's been a minute.
Now, this, yeah, right, but of all the ones, this is a good one to do because we've got the Ryzen 9 7900X 3D. Now, Paul, why is this? Tell me what's so amazing about this processor and what makes it different from your other Ryzen 9s.
So what stands out the most on this is that 3D part. So that means what AMD has done, and you've probably seen this, there was a 5800X 3D, and they've got a couple of their models that have that 3D. And what they've done is they've actually stacked the cache on top of the die. So it's a really cool way to get more surface area, which can in turn give you more cache memory.
Wait, so you mean that I'll be able to remember where I put my cache?
Of course.
What if I'm broke? Does that mean there's no cache?
Well, at least you remembered you didn't have any.
Perfect. Awesome. Now, these are a little bit different than we've seen in some of our Intel builds because the Intel processors tend to be a little bit more rectangular, whereas these are square. What are some of the other differences from the Ryzens versus the Intels that we've seen?
So the biggest difference that you can see just right off the bat is this heat spreader. They've got kind of a lot of little cutouts here. This new cover they put on there looks pretty cool. But this is a 12-core, 24-thread processor, so it's got AMD's multi-threading technology, and it's got a base speed of 4.4, and it'll boost up to 5.6.
Yeah, and this board is gorgeous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a really good.
It's also
board.
an Asus. It's an Asus board or a ASUS. They're always gorgeous. Conic Krieg over there on the red side says I picked the 7800X 3D for gaming. Yes, a great processor. Mm-hmm. Great processor. So I use Ryzen's for my production builds. So that is what's in my streaming PC. All right, now we're getting those brackets on. Now, Zach, these brackets for AMD are a little bit different than they usually are for Intel. What kind of difference are we looking at with this AIO?
So the main difference is going to be the standoffs will be a little bit different. So you want to get the standoffs that are correct. And then I'm just going to boost it.
Yeah, good call.
And then with this, it also has these guys, which are the Intel mounting bracket hardware, and this is the AMD. So you can really see there's a bigger difference on the kits. So just want to make sure that we're using the right hardware.
Nice.
This is pre-applied.
Okay. Now, as far as AIOs go, this is actually a great one. We did, again, use this last week. On Tuesday we will use this. And this, is, of course, is the Corsair iQ. It's an HT150. The one thing to point out also, this customer did select to get the upgraded thermal compound, the upgraded thermal CLX Flux. So, which, how does that work and how much does that affect the ability for the processor to cool?
Yeah, so having a little bit better thermal paste is going to allow your CPU to run a little bit cooler depending on how high up you go. I mean, we see differences from like a mid-tier thermal paste to a high tier, you know, upwards of 5 to 10 degrees Celsius. So it really does have an impact. But also this customer did pick overclocking, and so since they upgraded their thermal paste, we're going to be able to overclock this even higher.
Cool.
Nice. Excellent. Okay. Now, let's talk about that RAM, because that RAM is gorgeous. We've seen it used a couple different times. This is a total of 64 gigs of Corsair DDR5 6000. That's 232 gig sticks, which are really fun. That is a lot. Now, I have 64 gigs of DDR5 6000, but I have 4 instead of 2 because I have 4 16s. So what kind of difference does that make, Paul? I know we've talked about this before, but I always like to just bring this about as far as the functionality of your RAM.
Yeah, so really what you've got here with these RAM slots, the best way I can explain it is kind of think of it as lanes on a highway. So since we have 2 sticks here, that's essentially 2 lanes for our data to travel. So if we had 4 sticks of the same capacity, it might perform a little bit better. I don't think you would really see that as far as frames go in games. So I tend to lean towards this 2 stick configurations, because that allows you to upgrade in the future without having to change out all of your memory.
Speaking of changing out memory, let's talk about what's going underneath that beautiful little panel that we just saw Zach dethrone or take things off of. And that is our Western Digital Black. It is 4 terabytes. Now, I have in my hand a Western Digital Black 1 terabyte. But that is 4. That is 4 of these in one little card. Now, that's what I use for my game drive, but it's quite amazing. It's an M.2, which means it's a little bit faster than a solid state, but essentially it is just an onboard solid state.
Correct.
Yep.
Speaking of codes, we've got codes given out right here over on the Twitch side. Find Nicole here says the first one's going to be NNUW. That is HNY24-Nevada Uniform Whiskey, also known as Not Never, under which. Nothing makes sense today. I feel like I have a headache. Actually, I feel like I should change my name to Headache. That could be fun. It's a +1. Oh, God, Nicole, you are such a troll. That is hilarious. Imagine if somebody wins off of that one entry code.
That'd be epic.
That's hilarious. What's up, Benora? How are you? Yes. This is how we roll, people. Now, as we're getting things put together, does anybody have questions about what constitutes an AIO versus a open loop? Because I feel like Paul can run through that.
Absolutely. So this is obviously a liquid-cooled system. This is an AIO, which means all-in-one. So all of it is right here. You can see very easy to install. Like Zach mentioned, you just grab the right hardware that matches your motherboard and put the screws in the right spots and you're good to go. So this does great performance, great cooling. However, if you are wanting to go with something a little bit more extreme, you can go with the open loop. We do offer those as well. And that's where we will custom bend tubes. You actually have a reservoir, pumps, maybe a distro plate, depending on your case. We actually fill up that fluid. You can pick every color under the rainbow for your fluid. You could do 2 loops if you wanted, one on your CPU, one on your GPU, and have 2 different colors. Those look really cool. We've done a couple on the stream before, so I'm sure you can find those videos if you were interested in them. But yeah, those are just really labor intensive, but come out looking really good.
So Shazdash, it's exclamation GiveHorus.
Oh, that's right.
Exclamation GiveHorus will get you the information on the giveaway. Devil's Minion, by the way, welcome your first time into the chat, says, I'm getting my first PC built by CLX and it's going to be a monster. That is awesome. So apparently Devil's Minion is going from an RTX 2070 and a Ryzen 7 27X, 2700X to the i9 14900K and the 4090 RTX. Bruh.
Very nice.
Bruh. That is a wicked upgrade.
Yeah, you're definitely going to see some performance differences there.
So I went from a i9 9900K to an i9 13900K F, and from a 2070 to a 3090 OC. And the difference was wild. You are going to see things in a beautiful level of purity that everybody else can be jealous about. Now, speaking of things to be jealous about, let's talk about the case that you're pulling apart right there, and a little bit about what makes this case unique.
Yeah, so this is the Fantex G500. It's kind of a different take on their P500, very similar if you guys have seen that case before. We do sell quite a few of these, but it's been a while since we've had them on the show. You can get them in black or white. Essentially, these are kind of similar to the Evolve X, one of those older chassis that if you've seen those, the interior is a lot alike, but more of the traditional style. We're gonna have our intake on the front with our 360 rad up there and one exhaust fan here.
There we go. All right, we're going to get that beautiful board in there and that breathtakingly white background. Of course, we've got our standoffs in place. Now, the standoffs, you'll notice, align with all the little circles that have what looks like solder rivets on them, or the silver lining. Paul, what do those do, and how do they work?
Yeah, so what those do is with Zach installing these screws right now, that screw is going to make contact with those and it's just going to provide a good electrical ground for the motherboard. Now the standoffs it's sitting on are separating it from the bottom of the chassis. That way our motherboard isn't touching any metal and shorting out or anything like that.
Nice. All right, getting that all put in there.
Yeah, I'm so used to putting our fans on the radiator, I handed Zach the fans and I was like, no, not on this one, because we actually put these on the front. So kind of cool. That's why we don't have the fans on the radiator here. We'll show that once we get into it. This is how I have my setup and my Evolve. So my case is getting pretty old. It's time to upgrade, but I do like this one.
Yeah, I dig it. Now, this is a full, what we call a full depth design on this. So you've heard us talk about a 3/4 design or a 2/3 design where the board doesn't actually sit on the back of the case. There's a gap back there for other elements and items. But this, as you can see from this angle right here, actually sits at the back. Now, that does give a lot more room inside of the case for maneuverability and opportunity. So as far as from a cooling standpoint, what's some of the best ways to keep your system cool if you've got a full flush case?
Yeah, so if you got a case like this and your intake's on the front, you don't have to worry too much about putting this thing on carpet. Probably still wouldn't recommend it, but not the end of the world if you do, because it's going to get all of its intake from the front. The air is going to flow from the right side of the case all the way over here and exhaust out. Really is, you know, just, I like this design. They still got a little pocket for cable management in the back, but as opposed to those cases with the 3/4 design, our power supply is going to be in the bottom, and then you can see that power supply shroud right here that covers all that and keeps it looking nice.
And they haven't.
So I finally gave him mentions like removable fan mounting bracket for this case, and so that is yes.
So there is not removable brackets like we see in like the 011 or something like that. They're all built in. I think if you wanted to, you could probably pull these off. They do have an option to where you can. Let's actually try to get that a little bit because this is pretty interesting. So we go.
So the way these come set up is they come set up with 140 mils in the front, and then this bar is on both sides, and it's got 3 screws and a couple different slots that it sits in. So we can take it from 140s here, and we'll pull it out, and we'll put it up to the closer bar, and that's going to transfer it to 120s, and we'll have to do the same thing on the other side too.
That's cool.
Yeah, I kind of like this
I like
touch.
it. Cassie Renee, welcome. Yeah, that's actually, again, and you don't, I always forget that there are other size fans.
Yeah, we've actually got, let me see if I got a 140 mil just to show you. Once you're used to looking at these fans, you can tell. I mean, me and Zach could probably point out a 140 from a mile away. But this is essentially the difference here. This thermal take fans that I got in my hand is what we're going to be using in this build. So this is a 120 and then the white one is a 140. So once you got them next to each other, it is a pretty big difference.
Wow, that is a big difference. Jeez.
140s, I mean, they're somewhat common, but for the most part, you know, you see 120s in PC building. If you were going with an AIO and you wanted to use 140s, you could get an AIO that is the size to fit 3 140s. That's a little bit wider.
And and how long are the front mounting brackets?
They're that whole gap, right? I don't have the exact length for you, but you can see, I mean, it's pretty much this whole front panel. It's from here to here.
So bigger is better then.
Yeah, technically. So your 140 millimeter fans, they're obviously going to push a little bit more airflow through, but I don't think you're going to notice that in any real practical sense.
Yeah. Let's see here. And gestures, yes, you're right. From this angle, it looks like the med bay in some sci-fi show. All white and yes.
Super sterile.
That is one thing that's funny is whenever I change the colors in mine from blue and just if I make it go white for a minute, the whole thing looks really different.
Yeah.
Watch
yeah.
4 tribbles with screw airflow. Yes. Okay, so now we're getting these fans mounted on here. Now, obviously, we've got 3 on the outside. Is this going to be a push-pull, or are we just going to be doing a push?
Just a push on this. So we're going to have 3 of our intakes in the front that Zach is putting on right now, and then we're going to have 1 in the back. So 4 fans in this system.
The classic.
Yep, this is the OG way right here. If you wanted to go with this case and you had some extra fans, you could fit 3 more up top. You can also do 140s on the top as well.
There we go. Contra brings up a good question. What is the earpiece mic / headset that's currently being used, and how do you like it? So those are actually for our because what you're hearing on the stream is the actual mics. What we're talking to each other is through Discord. So those are their way of talking to me through Discord.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what do you have?
So
looks like a Jabra.
Yeah. So we have Jabra headsets for our ears. So DJ's hearing me out of this, and you guys are hearing me out of this one.
Thanks, Nicole, for letting me use your old Jabra.
There you go.
Nice. Awesome. All right. Now, as we get the fans on here, there are some really cool features about this case itself. Let's talk about the ports. Paul, how many ports does this case come with?
Yeah, so you can see, let's get...
Yeah, we can flip it up too.
All right, you got all those in?
Yeah.
So, at the top here, we've got 2 USB 3.0s, a USB Type-C, and then a headset / mic port. We'll show you. There we go. So right here up top, that's where these are, and then you've obviously got buttons to change fan settings,
Nice.
lights, all that good stuff.
Another good thing from this shot right there is you can actually see one of the I would say standout points that you'll always see with a Fantex case, and that is the Velcro straps that they put on these cases to assist with your cable management, which is, look at that. I mean, it's exceedingly helpful when you look at it like that.
Yeah, and this case actually has these doors that will cover up our cable management. We'll show that at the end. I always like to show that off because this case just looks really clean once you get everything put back together.
And Ivory, of course, taking issue with the 1 entry code. He's dropped another code. It is SAJU, Sierra Alpha Jammer Uniform. Significantly astute Jackup. None of that made sense, but there we go. There's your code. It's HNY24-SAJU. Use it, don't lose it. And it's worth 100 entries. Nice. All right. All right. Now, here's something interesting. I know because I have these very same ones in my system. These are our white cable sleeves that go with our EVGA power supply.
Yeah, so this is like you said, the white sleeved here. These things look great. So I'm just going through these right now to grab the ones we need, and then we'll get our power supply and everything else opened up.
Sounds like a plan.
Speaking of sound, might I snag that sound?
Nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The sound card, let's talk about it. All right. So one of the things that this customer is going to be using is a Creative Sound Blaster Audigy. It's a PCIe RX 7.1. Now, this is great for 2 different reasons. One, you get that full 7.1 surround sound coming out of there, but it also has a great recording feature. So you can actually bring multiple, like a multi-directional sound in and record it. So this very much could be used for like media production, etc. Otis, welcome. Woods, the emote broke. Excellent point.
Okay. 2 or 3 say to Zach.
Now,
I
as
think
we're
we
getting
only need 1, but should we use a 2 or a 3?
We'll need 1 for the case, 1 for the liquid cooler. We'll need a Molex for the fans.
We'll do with our 3 then.
Yeah.
Keep this one out just in case.
All right, so here's a question for you, because there's a term that I've always wondered about. What does it mean? What is Molex?
All right, let me show you what Molex is. So Molex is a power connector. It's been around forever. We're all kind of sick of seeing Molex, so we'll all be happy when this goes. But this right here is a Molex connector. Maybe we can go to our overhead real quick. So this is a Molex. It's a 4-pin. You can see those 4 there. And what Molex is known for, some of these cables will have the female end on the other side as well. If you've got a Molex fan, you've probably seen that before. But why we don't like these is when you push the pins into this, it can push the cables out of the end. Now these cable mod ones we haven't had issues with, but other Molex connections, like on other fans and stuff, we have. Just, you know, not the most solid thing, but it's still around, it still works.
Now, Contra brings up a great question. It says, you don't hear much about sound cards being installed on machines like you used to. Is the use case typically limited to AV professionals, or is it valuable in other areas?
I think you're probably right with the use case being for professionals who are going to use it. That being said, I know a lot of people who are into Counter-Strike and they love having a sound card on there because they can like mess with actual like footstep sounds and all that stuff to turn it up. So if you're like a real sweaty gamer, you know, there is some use for it there.
Yeah. I know, like, I have used them in the past for recording, like, just recording mixes when I'm DJing on stream, and it has worked great. Now, of course, you've got systems that have great recording capacities built into the motherboard, so, yeah. The original Sound Blaster cards, yeah, the original Sound Blasters are hilarious. They were unique for their time, but man. And also, back then, you're talking about a time when we had... Yeah, we were using CRT monitors that had a VGA connection and they had no speakers built in. So you were basically stuck with whatever your motherboard came with, which at the time, back in the day, was very little. So if you've got a sound card, you could hook it up to a surround sound system. Now I just plug things in digitally and you're good to go. All right, fire in the hole! Sounds like the villain in a cartoon about brushing your teeth. Molex, the destroyer of molars.
You guys.
What is your name?
I am Molex.
That is kind of hauntingly awful. Uh-oh, the NNUW code must have broken my surf. Well...
Rip.
Right, the destroyer of PSUs. Yeah, I yesterday had to harvest a power supply unit from my original streaming PC because in the 3 times that I turned this PC on, my streaming PC, I had it on when the power went out. And I turned it on to try and record some things for another company, and power went on again. 3rd time, it just dropped as it was starting, and then it just didn't start back up again. And yeah, I had to go through that with yesterday with Paul, thank heavens. But yeah, we got that all changed out. A lot of cords, a lot of cables, and now that you've mentioned it, I'm feeling ashamed about my lack of cable management. So I'll probably go back in there and fix that.
Dark room.
Man, the amount of ice you had
Right.
that on those pictures you sent me was crazy.
Oh yeah, well, yesterday I did nothing for me to do aside from walk around outside with my camera. And, well, not really walk. So my housemate got us these things called yak tracks.
No.
Who knows what a yak track is?
I do not.
Yak tracks are they're these little rubber, it's like a rubber band thing that goes on your bottom of your shoes, right? But
Okay.
it's got basically like cleats, but they're short and stubby. They're like studs on tires, but they're for your shoes. and I can walk across ice without an issue. So I was out there with traction. My dogs are, pulling a Bambi, going legs everywhere. So, yeah. And I'm not trying to blow any more knees out. I already have 2 that are damaged. I don't need any more.
Huh. Okay.
Got them somewhere? Yeah, they're good. Well, and the yak tracks that the new ones that Kevin got actually have a strap so that you won't lose it. Because there's times when anybody knows you've got them stretched real tight, you've got bigger feet like me, and it comes slipped off, it will shoot. Whatever direction is still attached, it will shoot in that direction. 5-10 feet, it's hilarious. It's like the weirdest weapon ever. Speaking of weapons, things that you can throw that are heavy and potentially dangerous, let's talk about that power supply you see him pulling out. That is a 1300 watt EVGA Supernova 1300 GT 80 plus gold. If I'm not mistaken, that's the exact one that I have in my gaming PC, which is awesome.
Yeah, very large power supply, fully modular. This is typically where I pull the cables out and show you all about those, but since we have a cable kit, we already got those taken care of, so we're not going to use the cables that come with that power supply. We are going to use these nice white ones. This is a
now,
big boy.
Does the overhead that I have, so here's a question, and this is going to be like for anybody else that's ever had an issue with your power goes out or otherwise. Because I have such a huge overhead of potential for power in my power supply for my gaming PC, does that make it more or less susceptible to damage because of power fluctuations?
I don't think that'll really affect it, yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. Does Creative make front I/O drives for their audio cards like they used to? That's a good question.
Not that I've seen. What we've seen a lot with Creative Labs and a couple other brands on sound cards is they're coming with kind of like a mixer, like you've probably seen with some headsets that actually sits on your desk and has a bunch of settings. Or it's just a standalone card like this.
Yeah. There are a couple that actually come with a DAW, a digital audio workstation controller, so that you've got mixed components. But that's like the I believe that's the GC7. It's the Sound Blaster GC7.
The AE9 comes with a DAC as well.
Yeah. Yeah, now the AE9 is one heck of a audio card. That thing is powerful. And I love the AE9s because it also comes with a 1/4-inch jack on it, so that you can actually plug studio headphones into it. Okay.
Well, while
those
that's
AE9s are
in those
not cheap.
cables, we've got these ready. I'm going to go ahead and get our video card out.
Perfect. Let's take a look at this. Now, this is a great card. This, of course, is the ROG Strix Gaming 4080. I have the 3090 OC. And what's nice about the OC builds is the OC cards you can actually overclock, which is fantastic. Why would somebody want to overclock their graphics card?
So overclocking it just gives you a little bit more performance. This customer did pick GPU overclocking as well, so we will be doing that in our testing phase. And really, it's just pushing more out of your card.
And of course, I believe the ROG Strix whites all come with, or should come with, a ring.
I think so.
My ring is awesome.
They usually
I wear my ring out sometimes, just because it looks absurd.
Oh.
I think there's a chance I might actually have a cold.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
This does have the ring.
Did it come
you
with
guys
one?
want to see it?
Nah. Is it the same ring?
It's going to be very similar.
Yep.
All right.
Comes in a great little gray baggie. It's adorable.
In this fancy, nice ROG bag here, we have our Super Bowl ring. Look at this thing.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Pretty awesome.
I love it.
Zach, insert sports reference here.
Yeah.
Right?
Chiefs are going to get one this year.
Chaotic Evil, yes. Let's see here. Ghost Rocket 102 says I may be getting a $10,000 top of the line PC from you. Well, that would be awesome. Also, that would be fun to build. Which, to be honest, like, if you haven't already played around with our configurator, you should, because it's funny when you try and see, all right, what can I shove into a machine? How can I make this thing wild, beastly, and unnecessarily powerful? So, yeah. Cosworth says... Wait, where'd he go? Oh, is me or the 4080 and 4090s identical in appearance?
They do look very similar. So mostly what you see here, and you see this across pretty much every card, you see brands kind of stick to a certain name. Like this one where they use the very similar cooler, sometimes the same cooler on them. So that's why they look similar. Excuse the crinkle for a couple more seconds.
Sticky green, yes. So every Rogstrix white card should come with the ring. Yeah.
And then this side is this.
What did you do?
So we have enough USB.
There we go. I'm like, Houston, we have a negative on that trajectory. What's going on there?
Oh, yes, we do. Okay. So
I will say I like the fact that there are. It's an interesting choice, but having the black fans instead of the white fans are going to give this a good balance, a little juxtaposition between the light and the dark.
Yeah, it will. Nice little. I kind of like that too. When there's like a little bit of black components inside of these. A lot of people say it's like Stormtrooper-esque.
Yeah. And a good question coming in from Contra asks, do you have any clients who ever purchased a build specifically for ML and AI yet? Or has that been a segment of the market who tends to DIY it?
So I haven't seen that. A lot of times we don't know the reason that our customers, like what their intended use for it is. So I haven't had like one that, you know, was a build specifically designed for that I know of, but it wouldn't surprise me if we've gotten those orders before and just didn't know it.
Citations is back. What's up? How are you? Let's see here. What? Clover asks, have any AIBs released 4070s yet, or just the FE?
Yeah, so there are a bunch of
means.
different 4070s out there for sure. Across all the different brands. 4070 Supers are soon to be a thing. I think there's going to be Super TI as well. You're going to have 4 different kinds of 4070, which is, I don't know how I feel about it.
Not overkill. RJ Rogers asks, question, if I buy a pre-built PC from you guys and I want to put an upgrade part in it, will I be able to? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, you can actually choose. So once you choose a ready-to-ship or already designed model, you can go in there and actually adjust a few things if you want to upgrade, say, the memory, or you want to put in a different hard drive or a different graphics card. Yeah, it's pre-built, but you can also alter things. Yeah, but that's also only through our site at clxgaming.com. That doesn't include our channel partners like Best Buy or those kinds. So there we go. Oh my goodness. Cough, cough, check it out. Ivory is dropping links in the chat. I know, I'm over here. Oh my gosh, we actually have our super page up. Heck yeah. Okay. With the Founders 4090 and a different 4090 like the Asus Tough card, which one is cooler, or are they both around the same on the cooling aspect?
Yeah, that's a good question. So NVIDIA's Founders cards, they haven't gotten a lot better coolers than what they used to have. So their cooling on them is going to be pretty similar. However, I would think that Asus is going to perform a little bit better. As far as actual frames and games though, it's going to be very similar. The Asus one should have a higher clock on it, so that's where you might notice it. But yeah, they're going to be pretty close.
Nice. Nice. Also, I have a question because I'm not really sure what this term means. What is AIB versus FE? Oh no, Founders Edition, and AIB is what?
AIB is like what this is. I don't know exactly what it stands for, but it's like where the brands buy the cards and then put their own coolers on them. So the Asus, this is an AIB, MSI, Zotac, all those ones we see.
Oh, aftermarket, basically.
Yep.
Got it. Uh-oh. You got to sneeze?
Gesundheit.
Look at the light.
It's stuck.
Bless you.
Nope, didn't work. All right, question coming in from Contra. This is possibly an odd question, but is the tower-based design specifically shown to be the best for things like heat management and performance? Or are you guys aware of any niche design computers which might have a structured engineering that's superior?
So for airflow, there's, that's a pretty big, it depends on who you ask there. I personally like these tower designs with the intakes on the front and the exhaust on the back because I don't have to worry about sucking up anything on the ground for my intakes. That's not to take anything away from those cases though, because they cool just fine. Typically on the cases where you have your intake on the bottom, you have more room for fans in that case. You can get a little bit more airflow. There's also like open air cases where it's kind of just like a mounting board and all your stuff's out in the open. They may have like a glass pane that's kind of similar to a side panel. But an open air design that even has greater cooling. There's just so many different kinds of cases for that.
Speaking of cases, Ivory did point out that AIB isn't a code, but you know what is? QIYW. That is quintessential intelligence. You're welcome. HNY24 QIYW. That is Quebec Indigo Yellow Whiskey. That is a code for a bunch of people. And it's not an occult code. Which is individually amazing. Because it's only come in singles. There we go. Now, our difference... So here's a question. Because not all cable mod kits will work with power supplies. So what is the big... Do you have to have ones that are made specifically for EVGA? Are there... how does that work?
Yes, so you do, when you're buying your cable kit, if you're going with Cable Mod or whoever you're going with, you're going to have an area where you're going to pick the power supply that you're buying it for. So even across EVGA, you've got different EVGA power supplies that are different. So it's not just like, this is an EVGA kit, so it'll work with all EVGA power supplies. You want to make sure you're buying the specific one for your power supply. Now, a few models will share the same one, so you might see like the 1300 GT, the 1000 GT, the 850 GT might also carry the same cables, but they also might be pinned differently if you were looking at the same wattage, but for like a G5 or something like that.
Gotcha. That makes more sense. Makes more sense.
I'll drop that one.
And then where it gets kind of a little bit confusing,
the other thing that's really cool about these is the combs.
Yeah. So this cable kit comes with the combs pre-installed on most of the cables. So that's what this is right here. Maybe we can go back to our other, there we go. So you can see here they're already on our cable, which is nice because these are kind of tedious to get on, and they separate out. So you can slide them around up and down. So you get your cables in, you can pick your combs. Now I did have to put the combs in on one of our CPU cables, but yeah, that was the only one I had to install.
Contra says, I was more referring to the overall shape. Is the rectangle shape the best possible engineering for a PC? I feel like I remember Apple having experimented with cylindrical designs before.
Yeah, so...
interesting question.
Yeah, so there's a few different... As far as shapes go, I feel like, the rectangle is obviously the most common one. But there are, if you look at another Fantex case, which I'm not sure if they make it anymore, but they have like a shift which is a little bit more cylindrical. It's like just a tall, skinny cylinder. It looks like it's going to fall over, but it's pretty cool. But as far as like, you know, airflow going on in the case, they're all pretty similar and are going to perform about the same.
NM Parsons 12 over here asks, do you think EVGA is ever going to make GPUs again? Honestly, I wish they would.
Who knows? Wouldn't surprise me if they did.
Cosworth asks, have you ever done the cable tie separator method?
I don't know what that method is. Do you know, Zach? Have you heard of that? Cable tie separator?
Individually, like tying off each cable?
I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe we do that and just didn't know that's what it was called. Not sure.
I'm going to look it up because reasons.
It's like a term for using white zip ties on white builds, probably.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, yeah, basically. Interesting how that works. Okay. Yep, you're right. Individual via zip tie.
Yep, body bagged. Yeah. I call that body bagging.
There you go.
Got it.
There's the one I prefer is biker braids. Biker braids is every fist. At the top of your fist is a zip tie. At the bottom of your fist is a zip tie. Bottom zip tie, and you just keep moving down the cable. That's what I like to do every once in a while, depending on the cable kit. But these guys look pretty good once you just roll them together.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will say in regards to Contra, I have my old gaming build was similar. It was the motherboard's mounted to the back of the case, right? But it had such poor cooling on it. I had to actually vent the side of it, so it had the tempered glass side. I had to take the top two screws out and let that just open up because it got so hot in there. Now, this PC is the 2/3 design where we've got that whole back area separated where the hotspot bays are, and then of course the power supply unit. It's all back there. The temperature in this thing is always very, very minimal. It very rarely ever gets warm. So I don't know. Does having your power supply unit outside or separately, instead of having it in a shroud below or having it inside the same unit, can that assist in making that cooler?
Yeah, absolutely. So your power supply, either if it's in the back, like in yours, DJ, or in the bottom here, it's going to get its own intake from the bottom of the case on this design, whereas yours is getting its own intake on the opposite side from the case, and then it exhausts that out the back. So all the air coming in and going out is just in a totally separate compartment than the rest of your case. And I think the main reason for doing the power supplies like that is just to make it a little bit cleaner look, but it does assist in keeping things a little bit cooler.
Nice. Greg Sim, first of all, welcome to the show. Glad to have you here. And it's a great question. With that big of a GPU, do you need to install a support, or does that case include a GPU support of some kind?
That's a good question. So yes, with a card this big, we will be using an anti-sag device. This case may come with one, but we are going to be using a Leon Lee that we installed. We have a few extra of those on hands that we like to use. The Fantex ones are great as well, but this one doesn't have one like the NV5 does. So what we look for in an anti-sag device is something that mounts to the frame of the chassis on the right side of the motherboard. So that's what we've used here. We've already got the base of that installed, and then we'll install the actual support piece once we get the video card in. And we'll talk a little bit about that when we do it as well, so you can see it.
Devil's Minion says, I'm glad I went with the NV7 full tower case with the 12 fans. Yes, absolutely. That is an incredible case. The NV7 is a wonderful. It's huge. It's huge, but it's incredible, especially at the cooling with the angled lower fans. It's
it's a great
everything about
case.
them is just awesome looking.
Yeah, it has all the features. Love the RGB controls on there. We actually just built one of those on Tuesday.
Yep. And of course, if you ever want to go back and rewatch any of our shows with any of our builds, all you got to do is go over to our YouTube channel. That is CLX Gaming. For those of you who are already watching over on our red side, hello, welcome in. So here we go. Which brands typically have great included anti-sag, and which brands would you recommend getting a secondary kit for?
It's a good question. So the brands that we're seeing for anti-sag devices that are coming with the cases are solid. The Leon Lee one's great. The Fantex one is great. Now that ones that come with the video cards, that's where it can get a little sketchy. So some of the video cards are making basically a bar that just mounts right under the video card. So your video card's in your system like this, and it's just a bar that mounts here, and it kind of runs the length of the card, but there's no support on this side, which is where you want it. Now, some other video card brands will include this little post with like a slider, which can work really well, but if you don't have a case that doesn't have a PSU shroud, you can't really use that slider. So that's why we like to use the Leon Lee one or the Fantex one that mounts to the motherboard. Basically anything that you're actually screwing in to your motherboard standoffs is connecting it to the chassis and makes it more rigid.
Gotcha. One thing I will say that I love about those cards right there is not just only the back plate, but that ring light at the very, very end.
Yeah. This light here at the end, this square is going to light up. You guys will see it looks really great. I'm going to see real quick if we've got the box for that Leon Lee bracket. Assuming it's in here, right, Zach?
Yeah.
And that way I can show you in case you're interested.
I might have. Yeah, okay, cool.
So
I might have. Thinking.
Contra, by the way, says, awesome answer. Even if I didn't ask it right, you still gave me a sense of what I was looking for.
All right, there we go. So
the included card brackets being more so the problem than the cases themselves. There we go.
Yeah, so
Let's take a look at this.
This is the secondary Leon Lee bracket right here. Now, if you buy a Leon Lee case, this is going to come with it. But you can also just buy it from Leon Lee, and this has everything that you need.
Nice.
10 of 10 would recommend.
Nice. Quackulator asks, were there any codes given? Yes, we've had several go out. I would definitely say scroll back up through the chat or ask, and I'm sure somebody can repost them for you. Okay, look at that. That looks gorgeous, dude.
That looks so good.
I feel like you're
Do you want to throw the doors on now, Zach, or at least next?
Graphics in.
Oh, okay.
We'll do that.
Yeah, look at that slack out there. Yeah, I just love these doors so much.
God, that looks so clean. Dude, they definitely make a difference.
Okay.
Bittersweet just posted all the codes over on the Twitch side. Look at that. God, that's a gorgeous board.
2? Yes.
Yes.
I'm still really jazzed about that Corsair AIO. That Corsair AIO looks super cool.
Yeah, it looks great. It'll display our temperature right out the box there, but you can change that to play a GIF or anything that you want right there.
I believe they're pronounced Jiffies.
GIFs? I don't think so.
Jiffies?
No, it's a GIF.
Because it's graphical.
Oh.
Right?
I thought it was like the peanut butter.
Mom's like you say
that
GIF or GIF.
GIF.
Mom's like you say GIF.
Right. There we go. A friend of mine who always loves to drive me nuts with that always says, hey, do you say giraffe? You say giraffe. I said, do you say graphics or graphics?
You say
And it said they never,
gigabyte or gigabyte?
GIF is spelled with a J.
Okay. Is it
Gigabyte or
is it pecan or pecan?
Peckin. Peckin pie.
I'm gonna use that one on my mom. My mom hates the improper use of pecan.
Like a slice of that peckin pie, please. The what?
Citation asks, is the guy in the Russian hat? Wait, what? He's wearing a knit cap, yes. For the bottom case GPU brackets, I just use glass standoffs, which is metal from Ali. Very cheap and easy to spray paint if needed. Oh, okay, that's interesting.
There you go.
Yeah, TLDR English is weird. Absolutely correct. There we go. And I know I've had a couple of people whisper about like, hey, where's Hayden? Hayden is still in the testing area, just trying to catch up on everything going on. So for the time being, he is busy with his head down working. So we've got Zach.
Hi.
Giraffe is my go-to for GIF versus GIF. What's up, Saska?
That's fair. I mean, that's a pretty good argument.
So
right
is
there.
it pterodactyl or pterodactyl?
I feel like that word is just hateful in general.
Whoa. One of these just exploded.
Oh,
Yep.
nice. Cool. Oh, the top one.
I was like, what was that? All
It's
right.
like how you spell psychiatry. You want to know why people need a psychiatrist? Is because they put a weird P in there and then it's impossible to spell.
Like pneumatic.
Right? No. Why is there why? Why is there an M in pneumatic? What possible reason, phonetically or otherwise, would there be to have a need for the extra M? Like,
Bubble chaser.
a weird P, you say? Yes, Chili. What up, Scott Wins? Scott and I are going to be jumping back into Dying Light 2 today. It's going to be really fun. Scorb says, I needed a psychiatrist once, but I couldn't find it in the phone book under S.
And the sack
Mike.
bracket.
All right, so our sag bracket's going in now. So we can. It's kind of hard to see even with our overhead shot, but we will do our best. You can see Zach is lining it up right there. Now you'll see a silver screw at the bottom here, kind of right there, and that's what's holding in the bracket. So that runs all the way up here to the motherboard post, and it's got little holes in it, so we can put the slider in there, slide it up to support the video card, and then screw that down.
Okay. Temperance, what did you just say to me? DJ, please stop triggering my hippopotamonstrosesquippedaliophobia. Is that even... now I have to highlight this and actually go and find out what the hell that even means.
Yeah, on our chat window, that took up a whole line.
Right? Like, what is this madness? Okay, Google, don't fail me now. Oh my God. It is referring to the phobia or fear of long words. How is that even helpful? Hippopotamonstroses quipedaliophobia. Like, if it's a fear of long words, why would you make it such a long word?
Exposure therapy.
AIBophobia? Abophobia? I don't know. What's abophobia? Now I have to. Now people are just going to start quizzing me on all these things.
Okay.
AIBOHPHOBIA.
That's good.
What the hell?
All right.
A fear of palindromes.
That's not that heavy. Compared
So-
to that 7 the other day. Man.
A fear of palindromes. Good grief.
We are pretty
All
much
right.
there, but before we do the next part, I want to show these doors off real quick. That way y'all can see them. So we got these two cable management doors that are just on hinges. You can see this tie-up obviously looks great how it is right now, but it comes with these doors. You just get these into place. The hinges
All
is
right.
the challenging part. And there you go.
Right? People
Looks
who name these
amazing.
things are trolls anyways. It's absolutely accurate. That looks fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
You know what else looks fantastic real fast?
Zach.
What else looks fantastic is your ability to order some amazing machines from our websites. Let's take a quick look at that right now. Over at clxgaming.com, we try and make it as easy as possible for you to build the computer of your dreams. As we've seen people mention here, they're building a $10,000 build. That's awesome. That is going to be great. And it's something that you can do because you'll be able to pick everything you ever wanted from your cases, open loop cooling, closed loop cooling, and you can't screw it up. And here's why. So we have a foolproof built-in compatibility system. which means that if you choose two things that don't work together, well, our system will stop. That little green button will turn to yellow, and we'll tell you how to fix it. So, for example, if you choose a DDR5 motherboard, but you chose DDR4 RAM, the system's going to say, all right, if you want to use this motherboard, you need to choose one of these RAMs. But if you want to use that RAM, then you're going to have to choose one of these motherboards. Once you solve the problem, it goes back to green, and it goes right on through to testing, and it's fantastic. That's how it works. Now, we have all sorts of options for your PC, whether you are wanting to upgrade your thermal paste or overclock your GPU or CPU live from we'll do it right there for you. You've also got all sorts of options for when it comes to your accessories, your peripherals. We sell routers, streaming gear, capture cards, audio cards. We've got t-shirts, windbreakers, beacon mix creates, beacon mics, all sorts of fun stuff, the best that you would need, and it's all right here on the website. Now, don't worry. Some people may feel a little intimidated by that. So we've got dozens of ready-to-ship models that are already put together, tested, and looking for a new home. And who knows, that home might just be yours. So for all of your future gaming needs, head on over to clxgaming.com and see what we can do for you. Alrighty. Why are you giggling? All right. Moment of truth. God, that looks good. It's like a stormtrooper and a PC had a baby. It looks so good. Let's take a look. Here we go. No worries. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, everybody just hang on. We've got, we're getting there. Uno momento.
Yay.
All right. Oh. Now don't fret. These are Thermaltake fans. So once you install your Thermaltake fans and power on, they take a little bit to read with everything, and then everything will start glowing.
Don't worry.
Look at the.
We have faith.
I love this. Wow.
There it is.
Let's go. That is a party and a half right there. I dig it. Absolutely incredible. This, of course, once again, is for Seth in Virginia. Obviously still living in Roanoke and still alive. So let's take a look one more time as to what went into this amazing PC for our friend Seth in Virginia. This, obviously, excuse me. This is a set gaming PC with an AMD Ryzen 9 7900X 3D processor mounted on an Asus Prime X670E Pro Wi-Fi motherboard. It has a 64 gigs of DDR5 6000 RAM from Corsair, along with that Asus ROG Strix RTX 4080 overclocked edition. It's fantastic. Now, we've also got overclocking for the GPU and the CPU, including an upgraded thermal paste, a 4 terabyte Western Digital Black NVMe M.2 for the operating system and file drive. The CPU will be cooled by a Corsair iQ H150i, and of course, it's all being powered by a 1300 watt EVGA Supernova 1300 GT with a white cable bond kit, and of course, our 4 Thermaltake Ring RGB fans. Absolutely amazing. Great build, guys. Great build.
Thank you.
Now I need to go and gargle with salt water or something. So today's show is going to happen in 2 parts as usual. In just a few, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, you're going to spend the afternoon with Zach as he continues to make some more amazing builds. It'll be a lot of fun. Now, with that being said, if you want to find out all of the latest and greatest of what's going on with CLX and maybe find yourself some other codes, check us out on social media at CLX Gaming at YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and Threads. You can also join our Discord and maybe you'll find a code there. But I'll tell you what you will find there is an incredible community of like-minded PC enthusiasts and gamers, and that's discord.gg/CLX Gaming. You can also find codes on our shows Tuesdays and Thursdays, Tuesdays on Kick, Thursdays on Twitch, although we're going to be on both all the time. And of course, that is kick.com/CLX Gaming and twitch.tv/CLX Gaming TV. Or you can also find them on my streams, and I will be giving away a code today as well. Plus some Dying Light 2 with Scott Wins, and we're going to see if we can manage to blow stuff up. So, with that being said, on behalf of everybody in production, that is Kyle and Jason, Paul and Zach, I'm DJ Blue PDX. Don't go away. We've got more coming up after the break. We'll be right back.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.